Ever look at a game and just think, not for me? Maybe it didn't look like much at first glance? Well, get this. I've played a ton of games, and today I'm showing you 20 that totally surprised me. Seriously, I went in not expecting much, but these games are actually really good. They just needed a chance, you know? A shot. So, if you're looking for some awesome hidden gems you might have missed, stick around. You might just find your next favorite game right here. Let's check them out. The Mad Max. Mad Max is one of those games that flew under the radar for a lot of people, but man, if you give it a chance, it's like a freaking diamond in the rough. At first glance, you might think, it's just another open world game trying to cash in on a big movie franchise, but nope. This game actually turned out to be way better than I expected. First off, the world is absolutely gorgeous, like desert wasteland gorgeous. You can just get lost in it. Driving around in the magnum opus, your badass car, feeling like a post-apocalyptic king. The driving mechanics are surprisingly smooth, and the vehicular combat is a total blast. You can take down enemy convoys and rip through bandit camps, all while blasting some killer tunes. And the combat, it's got that whole Batman Arkham style thing going on where you're punching and dodging your way through hordes of bad guys, which never gets old. The story, while not mind-blowing, is decent enough to keep you hooked. You're trying to find a way to survive and make your way through this hellish world. It's not trying to be a groundbreaking narrative, but it's solid and does its job. But the best part is that the game really makes you feel like you're in the Mad Max universe. The bleakness, the chaos, the constant threat, it's all there. Plus, once you get into upgrading your car and taking on the bigger threats, it just feels so satisfying. So, if you've been sleeping on Mad Max, just know this, it's way more fun than you might think. It's one of those games that could have easily been a cash grab, but actually turned out to be a solid, enjoyable experience. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't already. Days Gone. Days Gone is one of those games that had a lot of people sleeping on it, but when you finally dive in, it's like, why did I wait so long? It's got that perfect mix of open world survival, action, and an emotional story that really draws you in. The game takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where you play as Deacon St. John, a biker trying to survive after a zombie-like plague has wiped out most of humanity. But it's not just about the zombies, called freakers in the game. It's about survival, rebuilding, and dealing with the loss of loved ones. Deacon is a guy who's been through hell, and you feel that. The storytelling is surprisingly solid, and Deacon's character arc actually has some emotional depth that you don't always expect from a game like this. The world is huge, and you'll spend a lot of time cruising through forests, mountains, and abandoned towns on your bike. And I gotta say, the bike is actually one of the coolest parts. You have to keep it fueled, repair it, and upgrade it, and that adds a nice little survival element to the game. Plus, the bike's handling is actually pretty fun. The freaker hordes are what really take this game to the next level. They can get absolutely insane, especially when you're up against huge packs. The tension is real, and it makes the action-packed moments so much more satisfying. Sure, you've got your usual gunplay and melee combat, but it's the way the game makes you feel constantly on edge that really gets to you. And then there's the side content. Some of it's pretty standard, open world fare, but there's a lot of hidden gems if you take the time to explore. Trust me, you'll get lost in this world more than you expect, just enjoying the scenery and taking out bandits or helping out survivors. Honestly, if you were on the fence about Days Gone before, it's time to hop off and give it a shot. It's way better than some people give it credit for. It's got some rough edges, sure, but the heart of it, the story, the gameplay, the world, is totally worth it. Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy, man, what a freaking surprise. I went into this one thinking, alright, it's gonna be a decent action game, nothing too crazy, but nah, this one really hit different. It's not your typical movie tie-in game at all, and it has no problem standing on its own. First off, the story, totally legit. I mean, it's like a comic book movie with all the goofy humor, heart, and just the right amount of drama. You play as Star-Lord, the cocky, wisecracking leader of the Guardians, and you gotta lead this dysfunctional group of misfits on an intergalactic adventure. You've got the whole gang, Gamora, Drax, Rocket, and Groot, and they each have their own personalities that really shine through in the game. It's like you're playing through a Marvel movie, but you get to make decisions that actually affect the story and the group's dynamics. The combat is a lot more fun than you'd think. Yeah, you control Star-Lord, but you can also command the other Guardians in battle. It's not just random button mashing either. You'll be coordinating your team's powers to take down enemies in some pretty satisfying ways. The combos you can pull off make you feel like a freaking superhero, and the environments you fight in are actually pretty creative and fun to explore. But man, the real charm of this game comes from the relationships between the characters. These guys have such a unique dynamic. One minute they're arguing like a family, and the next they're ready to die for each other. It's so well done, you can't help but get attached to them. The voice acting and the writing, top notch. I found myself laughing, cringing, and even getting a little emotional at times. I swear, it'll get to you more than you expect. And let's talk about the soundtrack. Oh my god, the music in this game is straight up fire. It's all 80s rock and pop hits, and it perfectly captures the vibe of the Guardians. It's the kind of music that makes you want to crank up the volume, throw on your air guitar, and pretend you're Star-Lord. It seriously elevates the whole experience. I went in expecting a mediocre superhero game and walked out with one of the most fun and surprisingly heartfelt experiences I've had in a while. If you haven't played Guardians of the Galaxy yet, seriously give it a shot. It's so much more than I ever thought it would be, and honestly, I'm glad it proved me wrong. Kenna, Bridge of Spirits. This game is like a straight-up Disney movie brought to life in video game form. I wasn't expecting much when I first heard about it, but once I started playing, I was all in. It's got that beautiful, charming vibe that just pulls you right into the world, and you don't want to leave. First off, the visuals are absolutely stunning. I'm talking top-tier animation quality, like you're walking through a Pixar movie. The forests, the characters, the little glowing creatures, everything looks gorgeous. It's got that magical feeling where every little detail feels like it was crafted with love and care. Seriously, you'll find yourself just staring at the scenery sometimes because it's that pretty. The gameplay, it's got this smooth, fluid combat system where you control Kenna, this young spirit guide, as she helps spirits move on by solving puzzles and fighting off corrupted creatures. The combat's fun, not too hard, but not too easy either. You've got a staff that you can use for both melee and ranged attacks, and the little rot creatures, those cute little helpers that follow you around, they help you solve puzzles and fight enemies. You can throw them at stuff to trigger different effects, and it just feels satisfying to see them work together to clear obstacles. It's like a puzzle game with some combat sprinkled in, but the combat doesn't ever feel out of place. Now the story, it's simple but effective. Kenna's on this journey to guide spirits and help them move on to the next world. But it's got this emotional depth to it that really sneaks up on you. As you progress, you learn more about the characters' backstories, and it actually hits you right in the feels. It's a lot deeper than you might expect, and it'll leave you thinking about it long after you're done playing. And the whole experience, it's just a joy to play. It's one of those games that feels wholesome, but also challenging enough to keep you hooked. It's not trying to reinvent the wheel or anything, but it does what it does so well. If you want something that'll make you feel good, give you that sense of adventure, and still make you tear up a little, Kenna Bridge of Spirits is absolutely worth your time. Trust me, you won't regret it. A Plague Tale Games. This one really surprised me. When I first picked up A Plague Tale Innocence, I had no idea I was about to dive into such a heavy, emotional, and atmospheric experience. And when A Plague Tale Requiem came out, I was like, okay, let's see if they can do it again. And honestly, they knocked it out of the park. So, the first game, Innocence, is all about these two siblings, Amicia and Hugo, trying to survive during this crazy time in history where plague rats are everywhere, and they're constantly being hunted by the Inquisition. You're basically navigating a world filled with danger where every step could be your last. The story is incredibly well written, and the bond between Amicia and Hugo feels real. Like, you actually care about these characters. You're not just playing a game for the mechanics, you're in it for the journey, and the game hits you right in the gut emotionally. It's like walking through a nightmare, but it's a nightmare you can't look away from because the story is so compelling. The second game, Requiem, takes everything from the first and cranks it up. The stakes are even higher, the environments are even more detailed, and the story continues to evolve in ways I didn't expect. It's not just about running and hiding anymore. You're dealing with new challenges, facing even darker situations, and learning more about the mysteries of Hugo's powers. There's a real sense of growth here, not just in the characters, but also in the gameplay. They've refined everything so it feels even more intense. The mechanics? They're simple but effective. You're often sneaking around, using stealth to avoid enemies and solve puzzles, but what really stands out is how the game uses rats. Seriously, there are like swarms of them, and they're terrifying. They're like a living, breathing obstacle, and if you're not careful, they'll just overwhelm you in seconds. It adds this real sense of tension to every moment. Look, these games aren't just about sneaking past enemies and puzzles. They're about survival, the bond between these two siblings, and dealing with the horrors that come with a plague-ridden world. It's emotional, intense, and it doesn't pull any punches. If you want a game that'll have you gripping your controller tight, making you think, and pulling at your heartstrings, the A Plague Tale series is a hidden gem. It's tough, it's brutal, and it's absolutely worth your time. Just make sure you're ready for the emotional roller coaster. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. Prey 2017. Prey 2017 is one of those games that seriously flew under the radar for a lot of people, but once you get into it, you realize it's a freaking masterpiece. Like, seriously, if you haven't played it, you're missing out. So, Prey is set on a space station called Talos 1, and you wake up as Morgan New, who's trying to figure out what the hell's going on because things are not looking good. The station is overrun by aliens called Typhon, and you're basically stuck there trying to survive. The first thing you notice is how the world building is off the charts. You're walking around this big claustrophobic station that feels alive. It's like you can actually feel the history of the place, the designs, the posters, the random stuff lying around. It's got that retro futuristic vibe that makes you think of the 60s space age, but with a creepy twist. The gameplay is it's a mix of first-person shooter and survival horror, but the way it all ties together makes it feel like an immersive sim. You're gonna be sneaking around, solving puzzles, fighting aliens, and upgrading your abilities as you go along. The most fun part is the way you can approach everything. You can go in guns blazing, or you can get creative, want to sneak around, use the environment to your advantage and avoid fights altogether, you can do that. Or maybe you want to go full beast mode with alien powers. Yeah, you can steal their abilities and turn the tables on them. It's all about your playstyle, and that's what makes it so good. You can also upgrade your skills, find hidden areas, and make the most out of the resources you have, which makes you feel like you're really in control. Oh, and the Typhon aliens are creepy as hell. Some of them can shapeshift and look like everyday objects, like a coffee mug, a chair, or even a freaking box. So you're constantly second-guessing what's real and what's not. It messes with your head in the best way possible. And let's not even talk about the jump scares. You'll be sitting there all calm, thinking you're fine, and then bam, a freaking alien jumps out of nowhere. Keeps you on edge the whole time. Visually, the game looks awesome. The station feels alive and lived in, with tons of little details that make it feel real. The atmosphere is thick, the sound design is on point, and the whole thing just drips with tension. Whether it's the quiet hum of the station or the eerie whispers of the Typhon, it's the kind of game that sucks you in and doesn't let go.
Morgan, there, in the foyer.
Sleeping dogs. So, Sleeping Dogs, man, where do I even start with this one? It's one of those games that sneaks up on you and becomes way more fun than you thought it'd be. At first glance, it might look like just another open-world crime game, but trust me, it's got more than that. It's like Grand Theft Auto, but with a kung fu twist and set in the heart of Hong Kong, and yeah, that makes a big difference. The combat, it's freaking awesome. Picture yourself in the middle of a fight, kicking guys into walls, using objects as weapons, and feeling like a total boss as you pull off smooth combos. You don't just punch and kick, you're doing this insane mix of martial arts moves, and it feels way more satisfying than most action games out there. It's brutal, it's stylish, and it's fast. Seriously, some of the takedowns feel like you're in the middle of a Jackie Chan movie. Then there's the story. Wei Shen, the main character, is trying to balance his life as an undercover cop and as part of the triads. It's that classic living a double life stuff, but it's done in such a way that you genuinely care about the characters. The side missions, while a bit repetitive, do a good job of keeping you busy when you need a break from the main plot. You can race cars, do some martial arts tournaments, or just mess around in the city. And I gotta say, the city of Hong Kong is just so lived. You're not just running around doing missions, you're actually taking in the atmosphere, hitting up local markets, or driving through these crazy streets. It feels different from other open world games that just have big, empty spaces. The sound design, on point. The music is a blast, and the radio stations add some character to your drives. So yeah, Sleepy Dogs, it's one of those games that doesn't get talked about enough, but if you've got a thing for open world action and martial arts combat, this is a serious hidden gem. Don't sleep on it, for real. Hi-Fi Brush. Alright, let me tell you about Hi-Fi Rush. This game is a freaking blast, and it's probably one of the most surprising gems I've played in a while. At first glance, you might think it's just another rhythm-based game, but nah, it's so much more than that. It's got this awesome combo of action, humor, and music, and it's like nothing else you've played before. It's got the spirit of something like Devil May Cry mixed with a rhythm game. Yeah, you heard me right. You play as Chai, this guy who accidentally becomes the lead of a crazy, colorful, robotic revolution after some, let's say, accidental enhancements. The story? It's lighthearted, fun, and full of personality. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and that's exactly what makes it fun. You're thrown into this over-the-top world where everything is synced to the beat of the music, and the action is as fluid as a perfectly timed drum solo. Now, let's talk about the gameplay. The combat is all about rhythm. Every punch, kick, and dodge is timed to the beat of the music, and when you sync up perfectly, dude, it feels so freaking good. You're not just mashing buttons, you're dancing with the game, and the best part? The more you get in the groove, the better you perform, and it actually makes you feel like you're a part of the soundtrack. It's like the game is giving you a standing ovation every time you pull off a sick combo. The art style is, it's a full-on visual treat. Think of it like a cartoon, but with way more flair. The animations are sharp, the character designs are goofy, and every level feels like a new music video that you're playing through. The environments are vibrant, and you'll be running around in these visually stunning worlds that match the rhythm-based gameplay perfectly. If you ever wanted to feel like you're living in a Saturday morning cartoon that's been turned into a rhythm game, Hi-Fi Rush is exactly what you need. It's quirky, it's fun, and it's a total roller coaster of action. You don't need to be a rhythm game pro to enjoy it. Just dive in, feel the beat, and let the game do its thing. Trust me, once you get into it, you'll be smiling the whole way through. Tales from the Borderlands. If you haven't played it yet, you're missing out on one of the best story-driven experiences in gaming. Seriously, this game is like the perfect blend of humor, heart, and chaos, and it does the Borderlands universe justice in a way that's both refreshing and hilarious. So this is a Telltale game, but it's not your typical walking around talking to people kind of deal. Instead, it's a full-on adventure where you're thrown into the wild world of Pandora. But this time, you're seeing it from the perspective of a couple of new characters, Reese and Fiona. Reese is this nerdy, tech-obsessed guy working for Hyperion, while Fiona's a quick-witted con artist. They make one heck of a team, and the banter between them is hilarious. It's like every other line is a punchline, and it's impossible not to laugh at the absurdity of the whole situation. The story is, oh man, it's wild. You're taking on missions that range from stealing stuff to getting caught in ridiculous situations involving vaults, vault hunters, and pretty much everything Borderlands fans love. But what sets this apart from other games in the series is that it's less about the constant action and more about the characters and the choices you make. Every decision you make has an impact, and honestly, I was shocked at how invested I got in these new characters, especially considering the chaos they're thrown into. Visually, it's got that signature Borderlands art style, cel-shaded and full of personality, but with that added Telltale magic. The environments are just as vibrant and over the top as you'd expect, and there are tons of little details that make Pandora feel so good and alive. The dialogue is where the game really shines. I don't know if it's the sharp writing or the voice acting, but the whole game feels like you're part of a late-night comedy show mixed with an action movie. Every moment is either ridiculously funny or has a great mix of heart and tension. And even though it's got that typical Borderlands humor, lots of wacky characters and crazy scenarios, it's also surprisingly emotional at times. You'll find yourself laughing one moment and then kind of going, whoa, this is deeper than I thought the next. Look, if you're a Borderlands fan, you'll already be sold, but even if you're not super into the franchise, Tales from the Borderlands is a damn good time. The characters, the writing, and the world are all spot on, and it's just an all-around fun ride. It's got humor, it's got heart, and it's a game you can just dive into and enjoy without needing to worry about any grinding or loot hunting. Just play it for the story, trust me, it'll be worth it. The Saboteur. This one's a bit of an underdog, but man, it's got that charm that just grabs you. Set in Nazi-occupied Paris during World War II, you play as Sean Devlin, a cocky Irish mechanic turned freedom fighter with a vendetta. Sean's out for revenge, sure, but he's also trying to stick it to the Nazis, while causing as much chaos as possible, and let me tell you, this game lets you do just that. Blow stuff up, sneak around, and cause as much havoc as your heart desires. The vibe here, straight up old school action with a touch of noir and a whole lot of explosions. The art style is kinda cool too. The city starts off all drab and gray under Nazi control, but as you liberate areas, it slowly turns back to vibrant color. It's a clever way to show how your actions are making a difference, and honestly, it's kinda satisfying seeing the world get brighter as you make a mess of things. Gameplay-wise, this is a mix of a third-person shooter, open-world exploration, and stealth. You can be a full-on loudmouth, running around, blowing up tanks, and taking down Nazi patrols, or you can go for a more subtle approach, like sneaking around in the shadows, sabotaging enemy supply lines, and setting up traps. Either way, there's plenty of ways to play, and that's what makes it fun. What really stands out in the Saboteur is Sean himself. He's got that sarcastic, no-nonsense attitude that makes him likable right away. He's not some big, heroic soldier, he's just a regular guy trying to get revenge on the Nazis and doing what he can to survive. And his witty one-liners, hilarious. Plus, the side characters are surprisingly good with a mix of tough, funny, and even a little tragic. The story's not super deep, but it's engaging enough to keep you hooked. It's all about revenge, sabotage, and blowing stuff up in the most fun ways. The open world Paris is surprisingly fun to explore too. You've got the iconic landmarks, but you're also free to go off the beaten path and discover hidden spots. The world feels alive with Nazi patrols, resistance fighters, and random events happening all around you. It's like being dropped into a sandbox of war-torn chaos, and you've got full freedom to decide how you want to play in it. Sure, the game's a little rough around the edges in terms of graphics and mechanics, but it's got this unique feel to it that you can't really find in a lot of other games. The car chases, gunfights, and explosions are a blast, and the whole vibe of being this lone wolf sabotaging the Nazis in occupied Paris is just super satisfying. If you're into open world action with a bit of a classic old school feel like Grand Theft Auto meets Assassin's Creed, then the Saboteur is totally worth checking out. It's a hidden gem that deserves more love, and once you start wreaking havoc in Paris, you'll see why it's so damn fun. The Greedfall. You're in a 17th century style world with a mix of magic, swords, and guns, and you're basically a diplomat and warrior in a world full of political intrigue, monsters, and a bunch of different factions all trying to kill each other. Think The Witcher meets Dragon Age, but with its own unique twist. The story is that you're playing as de Sardet, a young noble from the kingdom of the bridge-building, colonizing people who land on a mysterious island full of magic and resources. But of course, this island's already home to several indigenous groups that have their own plans, and there's a bunch of other power-hungry factions looking to grab control. So it's all about navigating that web of alliances, deciding who you trust, and trying to stop a deadly plague that's threatening the island. It's a pretty solid mix of action, politics, and mystery, with a lot of room for you to choose how you want to tackle things. What makes Greedfall stand out is its blend of RPG elements and the sheer amount of freedom you get in how you handle quests. There's a big focus on role-playing and decision-making. Do you go full-on aggressive and solve problems with your fists and guns, or do you work the political angles and talk your way out of situations? There's also crafting, character customization, and the ability to develop your character in a bunch of different ways, whether you're into magic, stealth, or just being a tank. It's up to you how you shape your playthrough, and it makes every decision feel important. The combat itself is a bit more strategic than you might expect. It's not just hack and slash. There's timing, dodging, blocking, and using the environment to your advantage. Sure, the combat doesn't always feel as smooth as some bigger RPGs, but it gets the job done and can actually be pretty satisfying once you get the hang of it. Plus, there's a lot of loot to grab, from weapons to armor to all kinds of magical gear, which just makes it feel like there's always something new to discover. One of the coolest parts of the game, though, is the companion system. You're not just running around solo, you've got a small team of companions who have their own unique personalities, backstories, and even personal quests. They'll react to your choices, and depending on how you treat them, it can change the dynamic of your party. They're like a little family of misfits, and it makes the story feel more personal. Plus, the banter between your crew is pretty fun. Now, is it flawless? So, nah. The story could have been better, the combat could have felt a bit tighter, and there are definitely moments where the pacing drags a little, but overall, Greedfall is a really solid RPG with a unique setting and enough choices to keep you on your toes. If you're a fan of RPGs with lots of exploration, meaningful decisions, and a little bit of magic mixed in, it's absolutely worth a shot. And hey, you might end up liking it way more than you thought. Kingdom Come Deliverance. If you're into history, or you're just sick of every RPG being set in some high fantasy, dragon-filled world, this game's got your name written all over it. Set in the 15th century in the Kingdom of Bohemia? Yeah, it's a real place, not just some made-up land. Kingdom Come is all about realistic, hardcore medieval life. Forget about wizards and elves. Here it's just you, a humble blacksmith's son, trying to survive after your village gets burned to the ground. The story kicks off with a pretty brutal start, and from there you're thrown into a world full of political drama, corrupt nobles, and a whole lot of bloodshed. Now, right off the bat, this game does not mess around. It's not a button masher like a lot of RPGs. The combat is all about timing, precision, and using your surroundings to your advantage. You'll learn real sword fighting moves like parrying, riposting, and dodging, along with blocking, which is honestly more complicated than you might expect. And if you screw it up, well, let's just say your character might end up with a face full of steel. And there's no magical health potion to save your butt here, buddy. You've got to manage your food, sleep, and injuries the old-fashioned way. So yeah, you'll have to think carefully about how you approach combat, because you can't just go swinging around like some fantasy hero with a magic sword. The world of Kingdom Come is massive, and I'm talking ridiculously huge. There's no magical fast travel here either. You'll actually have to walk or ride your horse from one place to the next. And this isn't just a simple let's get from point A to point B situation. The world is full of detail, so if you get lost, and you will, it's not a bug, it's a feature. The forests, towns, castles, and villages are all painstakingly recreated to make you feel like you've actually stepped into medieval Europe. You'll probably spend a lot of time reading maps, trying to figure out where you are, and sometimes just wandering around, taking in the sights, or trying to avoid getting robbed by bandits. But let's not forget the story. It starts off with you losing everything, your home, your family, and being forced into a role that you didn't sign up for. The plot is grounded, making it feel more like a personal journey rather than some big epic fantasy. You're just a regular guy trying to make it in a world that's cruel and unforgiving. It's not an easy ride either. There's no magical hero moment, and your choices really matter. Do you trust this person? Do you go for the peaceful route or the violent one? Kingdom Come makes you think about everything you do. The RPG elements in Kingdom Come are on point too. Your character grows through experience, but it's not just about fighting. You'll need to learn how to read, sneak, lockpick, and even haggle if you want to survive in this medieval world. It's a slow burn, and sometimes it can feel like it takes a bit too long to get going, but that's part of the charm. It's a game about building up skills, growing into your role, and learning how to thrive in a world that doesn't care about you. Shadow Warrior 2? Alright, Shadow Warrior 2, this one's an absolute wild ride from start to finish, and if you're looking for pure, over-the-top action with a side of humor, it's hard to beat. It's got this crazy mix of first-person combat, ridiculous weapons, and a story that's just as wacky as the gameplay itself. Think of it like Doom meets Duke Nukem, but with more swords, jokes, and a whole lot of demons to kill. You play as Lo Wang, the same wisecracking, katana-swinging badass from the first game, and this time, things are bigger and even more chaotic. The game is set in a world filled with demons, mutants, and all sorts of insane enemies, and guess what? Your job is to slice, shoot, and kick your way through them like it's a Tuesday afternoon. You've got an arsenal of weapons from shotguns to energy guns, but the real fun is in the katana combat. Seriously, you'll be slashing and dashing through enemies, performing all sorts of sick moves, and watching enemies explode into gory chunks as you move from one wave of enemies to the next. But it's not just about slashing things to pieces. Shadow Warrior 2 lets you get creative with how you approach combat. You've got special abilities and powers that you can use to turn the tide in battle. Want to set up traps, summon lightning, or teleport around like some demon-slaying ninja? It's all possible. The skill tree gives you a ton of ways to play the game, and it's all about figuring out what works best for your chaotic playstyle. The game's also got this weird, hilarious vibe that runs throughout it. Lo Wang's sense of humor is a big part of what makes this game stand out. You're constantly being hit with jokes, pop culture references, and some seriously goofy one-liners. It doesn't take itself seriously at all, and that's what makes it so much fun. If you're the type of person who loves a game that doesn't try to be anything other than a good time, then Shadow Warrior 2 is all you need. Now, as for the game's structure, it's more open world-ish than the first one. You've got missions to take on, but you can choose how you want to tackle them. It's not totally linear, so you get to explore a bit, level up, and loot weapons like it's an action RPG with a first-person twist. There's a bit of RPG progression in there too, so as you get stronger and unlock more crazy moves, the combat becomes even more satisfying. But yeah, it's not all perfect. Some people might find the story a little too goofy, or the grindy side of progression might not be for everyone. But if you're here for some straight-up action, fun humor, and over-the-top combat, Shadow Warrior 2 delivers in spades. It's not a game that's trying to reinvent the wheel or be groundbreaking, it's just trying to make you laugh and have a damn good time while you slice and shoot your way through a horde of demons. If you've got a thing for fast-paced combat, ridiculous weapons, and a game that doesn't take itself too seriously, this is the one. Grab your katana, slap on your smirk, and get ready to wreck some demon faces. Shadow Warrior 2 is a good time. No need to overthink it, just enjoy the carnage. The Evil West. This game is basically what happens if you take Doom, throw in a bit of Red Dead Redemption, and then slap a bunch of vampires and grotesque monsters all over it. Seriously, this is a wild ride. If you've ever wanted to feel like a badass cowboy with a high-tech gauntlet taking down a demonic army in the Old West, this is your game. You play as Jesse Rentier, a badass, no-nonsense vampire hunter who's got more style and punch than most heroes you'll ever see. Think of him as a cowboy with a grudge, and he's got a sweet set of combat skills to match. The game takes place in this alternate, steampunkish Wild West where, instead of bandits, you're dealing with bloodthirsty monsters. It's like if the Wild West had a serious demon infestation, and you're the guy who's got to clean up the mess. The combat in Evil West is solid, it's fast, brutal, and incredibly satisfying. You've got this crazy gauntlet that does some major damage, like rip your head off kind of damage. Add in some guns and a slew of brutal combos, and you've got yourself a system that's all about punching, shooting, and slashing through waves of enemies. It's not complicated, but it's damn fun. Plus, there's nothing like hitting a dude with your gauntlet and watching him fly across the room like a ragdoll. You'll feel like an absolute beast. It's also got this cool progression system. As you tear through the levels and deal with increasingly insane enemies, you level up your abilities, you get more powerful moves, better gear, and some sweet gadgets to make your demon hunting journey even crazier. You'll unlock some seriously satisfying ways to destroy your foes. By the end, you'll be flying around, taking out vampires like it's a Tuesday. The pacing is tight, and it feels like you're always getting more powerful, which keeps the action fresh. As for the story, it's pretty straightforward. You're the hero, you hunt vampires, you save the world. It's not Shakespeare, but it doesn't need to be. It's an action game, and it nails that. Jesse's got a bit of attitude and a sense of humor, which makes the whole thing more enjoyable. Plus, there's this whole secret vampire conspiracy thing that gives you just enough reason to keep moving forward. The levels are a bit linear, which might throw off players who want total freedom, but honestly, that doesn't matter here. You're here to hunt monsters, not to explore, and yeah, there are some moments where it might feel like you're just grinding through enemies, but it's all part of the fun. It's the kind of game where you just want to keep moving, keep punching, and keep killing. So if you're into fast-paced combat, crazy monster designs, and a no-holds-barred approach to hunting demons in the Wild West, Evil West is definitely worth your time. It's the kind of game where you're just meant to go in, kick ass, and have a blast. Don't expect a deep narrative or a ton of exploration, just grab your gauntlet, blast through monsters, and enjoy the ride. If you like your games fun, fast, and ridiculously over the top, this one's a must-play. Immortals Fenix Rising. So Immortals Fenix Rising is kind of like a surprise hit. You might see it, think, another open world game, but then you start playing and damn, it's actually pretty fun. It's got this cool, vibrant, cartoonish art style, like someone took Breath of the Wild and gave it a nice splash of color and humor. You're playing as Fenix, who's basically got to save the gods of Greek mythology from this curse. You're flying around, solving puzzles, fighting monsters, and let's be real here, probably dying a lot. But it's all part of the fun, right? The combat is super satisfying once you get into the rhythm. You've got sword swings, archery, and some sweet magic powers. It's all pretty familiar, but it's done in such a smooth way that it keeps you coming back for more. The world's big, but not too big, and it's filled with these little challenges and puzzles that keep things interesting. Every time you think you've seen it all, bam! There's a new mountain to climb or a treasure chest hiding in some random cave. It's like the game doesn't let you breathe for too long without throwing something new at you. So yeah, Immortals Fenix Rising totally caught me off guard. If you're looking for a chill open world game where you get to mess around in a colorful myth-filled land without taking everything too seriously, this one's definitely worth checking out. You might just find yourself laughing while you're off saving the gods. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. If you're expecting the typical Metal Gear stealth action, you're in for a freaking surprise. This one is all about slicing dudes into pieces like you're some kind of cyborg ninja on a rampage. You play as Raiden, and instead of sneaking around, you're hacking, slashing, and cutting through enemies with a sword that can slice through anything in your path. Seriously, it's like they took every cool thing about Metal Gear and turned the dial up to 11. The combat is fast, fluid, and feels ridiculously satisfying. You're constantly dodging, slicing, and performing these insane combos like you're in an anime fight scene. And it's all about precision. Timing your attacks and knowing when to parry is key. When you hit that sweet spot and slow down time to slice through enemies in slow motion, oh, it feels so damn good. The game's story is absolutely nuts too. It's got that classic Metal Gear weirdness with its over-the-top characters and plot twists that'll make you scratch your head at times, but it's so out there that it's actually fun. You'll be battling giant mechs, getting into crazy boss fights, and questioning why the hell a cyborg ninja is fighting other cyborg ninjas, but none of that matters because you're just having too much fun slicing everything in sight. Visually, the game is slick, the environments are detailed, and the combat flows so smoothly. The camera angles during fights are pure eye candy, like they knew how cool you'd look doing a finishing move, so they made sure the camera is in the perfect spot every time. And let's not forget the soundtrack. Metal Gear Rising has one of the most hyped soundtracks ever. It's loud, heavy, and gets your blood pumping while you're slicing through waves of enemies. You'll find yourself headbanging while you're decimating dudes, and that's the vibe this game goes for. Complete, unfiltered badassery. The Vampyr. This game is a bit of a sleeper hit. When you first hear about it, you might think it's just a dumb vampire game where you're running around sucking blood and being all mysterious, but nope, it's so much more than that. You play as Jonathan Reed, a doctor who gets turned into a vampire during World War I. So yeah, not your average I was bitten by a bat and now I'm a vampire kind of story. He's trying to figure out who turned him and why, while also navigating the harsh, plague-ridden streets of London. But here's the twist. Being a vampire isn't just about drinking blood and living forever. You have to grapple with your humanity. Are you going to suck the blood of innocent people to get stronger, or are you going to hold back and try to save lives as a doctor? The game really makes you think about your choices, and it's not all just about the combat or the story. It's about how you balance power with morality, and that's what makes it interesting. The combat's a little bit clunky at first. You're swinging your fists and your vampire abilities around, and it feels kind of slow and awkward. But once you get the hang of it, it starts to click. It's all about timing, dodging, and using your abilities wisely. And yeah, there are some epic boss fights that get your blood pumping. But the best part is, the choices you make really matter. You can decide who lives and dies, and that affects everything in the game. Helping people or draining them can change the world around you. The way it handles side characters like the various citizens of London is surprisingly deep. You get to know them, and the relationships you build or destroy feel pretty impactful. It's like you're not just playing a game, you're living out a vampire's moral crisis. The atmosphere in Vampyr is on point. The whole city feels alive in a dark, gothic way. The lighting, the fog, the creepy alleys. It's like you're wandering around a noir film where every corner could hold danger. It's moody and eerie, and it pulls you in without being over the top. Look, Vampyr might not be for everyone. It's not fast-paced, and it's not the most polished game out there, but if you're into story-driven games where your choices really matter and you enjoy that whole dark, atmospheric vampire vibe, you're in for a treat. It's got a cool concept, a gripping story, and enough twists to make you rethink every decision you make. Just don't go in expecting to be a superhero vampire. You're more of a conflicted, morally gray anti-hero trying to survive in a city that's falling apart. And that's what makes Vampyr stand out. Singularity. Now this one's a bit of a forgotten gem, but when it came out it was like, whoa, where'd this come from? Think BioShock meets Call of Duty with a time-bending twist. It's got that classic sci-fi vibe where you're stuck in a messed up world and have to figure out how everything went to hell while kicking some serious ass along the way. You play as Nate Renko, a soldier who gets sent to a mysterious island after a distress call. Turns out the island's got a dark history and is home to a top-secret Soviet project. And of course, that project went horribly wrong. You get caught in a time loop where past and present collide, and this is where the game gets super fun. You start using a TMD, time manipulation device, like it's your best buddy, and it's fun, it's cute, it's a rogue cam would be don't use me like tarded. You can rewind time to fix things, slow it down, to dodge bullets, and even age things in the environment, like turning a crumbling wall into a fresh, solid one, or aging a nasty enemy into dust. It's a neat concept, and it adds this puzzle element that makes the combat even more interesting. The shooting itself isn't groundbreaking, but it's solid. You get a nice variety of guns and weapons to play around with, and each one feels satisfying to use. And when you're not blowing things away, you're figuring out time-based puzzles, which really keeps the gameplay fresh. There's a cool little mix of strategy and action going on, like you'll need to figure out how to use time to your advantage, but you'll also be ducking and dodging bullets from some seriously creepy, mutated enemy. Speaking of enemies, the designs are kinda awesome, super creepy but in a cool way. The island is filled with weird and twisted creatures, and then there are the soldiers that have been stuck in this messed up time loop. Some of the baddies you face are straight up freaky. There's that tension throughout the game where you're just not sure what's lurking around the next corner. Now, the story, it's not going to win any literary awards, but it's solid enough to keep you going. There's a lot of mystery as you piece together what happened on the island and what the hell the Soviets were really up to. And of course, you get all these crazy twists with time travel and alternate timelines that keep you on your toes. The atmosphere is great, the environment feels eerie and desolate, and the whole vibe is just off. It's like being stuck in this alternate history where everything went wrong, and you're the only one who can maybe, just maybe, fix it. The graphics hold up surprisingly well too. Everything looks gritty, dark, and a little bit haunted, which adds to the whole what the heck happened here vibe. The only downside is that Singularity can get a little repetitive and the pacing feels a bit off sometimes, but if you're into time manipulation, a solid shooting experience, and a good mystery, it's definitely worth checking out. It's a bit under the radar, but if you're looking for a fun, old-school FPS with a twist, Singularity delivers. Don't let it get lost in the shuffle, this one's got something special. Alpha Protocol. Now this one's a bit of a gem, but it's one of those games where you might have looked at it and thought, this looks a little rough. I get it. It's kind of got that hidden classic vibe, especially with its rough around the edges visuals and somewhat clunky mechanics. But trust me, it's a hell of a ride if you give it a shot. You're playing as Michael Thornton, a secret agent who gets caught up in a conspiracy that's got more twists and turns than a frickin' roller coaster. The game's packed with spy action, and the whole shady government agency plot is as juicy as it gets. You're making decisions left and right, deciding who to trust, who to screw over, and how to approach each mission. And that's the real beauty of Alpha Protocol, the choice. The game throws you into situations where your decisions actually matter. And I'm not just talking about which button to press. Do you go in guns blazing, or do you use your charm and sneak around? It's like, you can literally shape how the whole story plays out. And it gives the whole game this replayability factor that's pretty rare. Let's talk combat. Look, it's not the smoothest and it can be pretty janky, but you know what? It kind of adds to the charm. Sure, it's no Modern Warfare or Doom, but the thing is, it's all about your approach. Do you go for stealth using silenced weapons, or do you just go full James Bond and wreck everyone in sight? Either way, the game gives you enough freedom to make it feel like your own. And when you pull off a cool shot or a sneaky takedown, there's something satisfying about it. But what really sets Alpha Protocol apart from other action RPGs is the dialogue system. You don't just get simple choices like, do you want to be nice or be a jerk? Nah man, Alpha Protocol gives you dialogue that can seriously shift the entire direction of the game. You can manipulate people, use charm, or just be a straight up badass. It's kind of like Mass Effect, but with more espionage and less saving the galaxy. You can make enemies into allies, or you can make your life a hell of a lot harder by ticking off the wrong person. It's all about the conversations, and it gives you this real sense that you're in control of the story. Now, Alpha Protocol didn't get the love it deserved when it first dropped. It was a bit of a mess with its bugs and dated graphics, but when you look past all that and focus on the story and choices, it's honestly a game that still holds up. It's got that old school RPG charm where the way you play affects everything, and even though the combat's clunky, the experience as a whole is still pretty damn cool. So yeah, if you're into spy games with a lot of character development, tough choices, and a story that feels like it's unfolding based on what you do, give Alpha Protocol a try. It's one of those games that might not win any beauty contests, but if you can look past its flaws, it'll totally suck you in. And hey, if you like making shady decisions and playing the system, you might just feel like a secret agent yourself. Spec Ops: The Line. Okay, real talk, I almost didn't even play this one. It just looked like some boring generic army shooter you'd see in a bargain bin, like sand everywhere, soldiers yelling, and the usual let's save the world vibe. But nah man, Spec Ops: The Line is not what it seems. It starts like that, sure, but then it completely flips the script and becomes something way deeper. Honestly, it kind of wrecked me. You play this guy named Walker, a soldier going into a destroyed Dubai with his squad, trying to figure out what happened to another group that went silent. Sounds basic, right? But as you go further, things just keep getting darker and weirder. Like every mission starts feeling off. You're making choices that feel wrong, but you do them anyway, because the game doesn't stop you. It doesn't want to stop you, and that's the whole point. The gameplay itself is solid. Third-person cover shooter, some squad commands, decent combat, but that's not why this game hits. It's the story, the tension, the way it slowly makes you question every single thing you're doing. It's not trying to make you feel like a hero. In fact, it kind of makes you feel like the opposite, and it does it so subtly that you don't even realize you're slipping until it's too late. You're into games that mess with your head a bit, or stories that go places you didn't expect. This one's a hidden gem. So yeah, I went in thinking I was just playing another military shooter. I came out questioning everything. If that sounds like your kind of ride, trust me, give Spec Ops: The Line a shot. It deserves way more love than it ever got.